world is changing fast. New technologies are impacting how we think about products, services, and the way we live our lives. Nowhere is this trend more present than in financial services, where new business models and customer expectations are changing our conceptions about banking, finance, and the very nature of money. Welcome to Rebank, a visionary podcast about banking, fintech, and the future. The future of banking is here. Hello and welcome to Rebank. I'm your host, Will Beeson. I want to personally thank everyone for all the love and support we've gotten through iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, email, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's really been overwhelming, the reception we've gotten so far. The first 10 episodes have been a real joy to put together. We've had some amazing guests. I think we've explored some really interesting subjects, and we're very much looking forward to where we go from here. As I always say, we love hearing from the audience. If you have any thoughts or ideas on topics or guests we might bring on, by all means get in touch. We're here to provide relevant content for you. I'd especially like to thank everyone who's reviewed us on iTunes. We've had a number of 5-star reviews, which are immensely helpful in helping promote the podcast and helping others find it. A special thanks, of course, to all our guests who've helped us create such amazing content. We've got some really good episodes lined up, and we're very much looking forward to building on early success and growing from here. Thanks again for your patronage, and enjoy the show. This week we've got a special two-part edition with two guests who represent arguably the future of banking and financial services technology. Martin Haring is the Chief Marketing Officer at Misys, a global core banking provider that recently opened its systems to third-party development in yet another sign that the industry is moving toward an API-connected platform model. I think Misys is doing revolutionary work, and it's really good to see an incumbent organization, in fact a stalwart of global banking systems, taking the lead with such an innovative move. I think it's reflective of the way Fintech is going, the way banking is going, the way financial services is going, and the way technology is going more broadly. We've also got Myles Stephenson, CEO of Modular, a UK fintech building out a robust plug-and-play payments platform to support corporates and fintechs looking to gain more efficient access to payment systems in the UK, above and beyond what's offered by the banks. Myles has a really interesting take on where the industry is going in terms of systems architecture and platformification, and I think the two guests, the two interviews, support each other nicely and really reinforce this broad-based push toward wholly new banking systems architecture. As always, tweet at us at Rebank Podcast or tweet at me directly at Will_Beeson to share your thoughts and continue the conversation. Without further ado, please welcome Martin Haring from Misys and Myles Stephenson from Modular. I'm thrilled to be joined by Martin Haring today. Martin is the Chief Marketing Officer at Misys, a UK-based global financial software company. Misys has over 2,000 banking and financial services customers across 125 countries worldwide, including 48 of the world's 50 largest banks. Misys is one of the more innovative core banking providers, having recently announced a new platform-as-a-service strategy that will see it open up its core banking systems for third-party development. I was deeply intrigued when I first heard about the strategy, and I'm excited to get into a bit more detail today. Martin, welcome to Rebank.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, I hope I've correctly characterized Misys' recently announced platform-as-a-service strategy in the introduction. Can you tell us a bit more about the announcement?
Well, Will, I think you captured it already quite nicely. We have recently launched our new vision and strategy, how we deliver our Fusion software in a platform-as-a-service model. So this platform will be called fusionfabric.cloud and will be open, accessible to the financial services community.
So this is it's an extension of existing capabilities, or it's a new product?
It's an extension of existing products and the architecture and technology behind.
Okay. What are the drivers behind the new initiative? How does it fit within the broader scope of what Misys is looking to do?
Well, I think we really want to change and challenge the way modern banking software will be built, distributed and consumed in the future. We think the days are really gone of closed, proprietary, and monolithic banking software that more or less produces a vendor lock-in for financial institutions. We also think that homegrown banking software can't be maintained over time, and that the costs for maintenance are blocking banks from real new innovation. And I think finally, we believe really in open innovation. We think that open interfaces, open standards, and an open platform can really create fast innovation cycles and better outcomes for the financial institutions.
Yeah, I totally agree, I think, on all points. I'd be curious to know, from your point of view, what's the most powerful thing about this new strategy? I mean, what's the potential?
I think it's the concept of creating what I call the financial services app ecosystem. And I compare this to Salesforce. Salesforce also created a CRM ecosystem with Force.com. And we are creating this now, an app ecosystem for the financial institutions.
Is this a new product or a change to the way that your current products are designed and delivered?
Well, it's a continuation of a longer journey. We have invested tremendously in the last 5 years in bringing our products to a very modern and state-of-the-art software architecture, which is called Fusion Fabric. This architecture is based on open standards and interfaces and uses all the elements of a really modern software architecture. It is componentized, uses things like in-memory databases, real-time processing through the use of graphic processing units. It uses Java, HTML5 for the presentation layer, just to name a few of them. And I think only this technology really allows to offer our software in the cloud or as a platform as a service.
Mm-hmm. So is this an option that you expect kind of a small number of your customers to use, or is it kind of a fundamental change in the way that Misys delivers its software solutions?
It's less a question how Misys will change or the product. It's more a question of how the financial institutions will build or buy software in the future. I think the move towards standardized packaged software consumed either on-premise or through the cloud is a clear trend. PaaS just creates a new dimension to that and offers even more choice to banks. And we want to offer that choice to our clients and also lead the market with our new vision and strategy.
Mm-hmm. How is third-party development expected to work in practice? I mean, how much flexibility will be granted to third-party developers? Is it going to be controlled by Misys? How's it likely to work?
Very easy. Fintechs, banks, or individual developers, they will all get access to a development platform in the cloud. We call this platform Fusion Creator. So you log into the system, you log into a website, and where you will find yourself in an environment called Fusion Creator. And through this, you can start to develop your own code on top of the Fusion Fabric product stack. There are no general restrictions, but developers, of course, need to apply through a formal process for getting access to the platform. We really don't want to limit it too much. We really want to stimulate open innovation.
Mm-hmm. And so will the end result be kind of an app store where banks or financial institutions that use your software can then access third-party developed apps?
Absolutely. It's more or less a one-to-one match of what Apple provides today with the Apple App Store. The Fusion Store is a reflection of where you store your applications, you buy them, or you distribute them.
Presumably this new strategic direction will have an impact on the kind of the traditional vendor-customer relationship if you're inserting a layer of third-party developers into the equation. Do you expect this to change the vendor-customer relationship?
No, not at all. I just think that the clients will have a different route to buy or to build software, but the relationship between Misys and our existing clients will not change because of that model.
And will customers of Misys to access the App Store pay third-party developers for their tools?
The final commercial model has to be defined, but the basic idea is that we are monetizing the platform, and the clients will pay a kind of charge or fee for the application on top to the third party, and then we are monetizing underneath based on a consumption-based model the use of that platform. That's the idea.
Do you have anyone using the service yet?
Well, we are not in a commercial mode at this moment. We are still really in an early stage. We are testing the platforms with students and universities and some early adopters from the banking space. And after the announcement 3 weeks ago, especially the fintech seemed to be quite interested in the offering, because that releases them from a lot of startup funding into the base or core infrastructure of banking software. They don't want to wrestle with general ledger systems or payment streams and all that stuff. They really prefer that kind of platform on which they can just plug their innovation, their app. So fintechs seem to develop a lot of interest in the platform.
Yeah, I totally get that. My mind is racing with all the possibilities. We hear a lot about kind of licensed bank as a platform providers like Wirecard or Solaris Bank out of Germany that basically provide back-end support to fintechs and neobanks. The Misys platform, based on the way you've described it, has the potential to do a lot of what those guys are doing. You can imagine a tech-savvy player like a Facebook or a Google developing something really cool on top of your core systems. At that point, the only thing missing would really be the banking license itself. There's a potentially transformative effect on banking and fintech business models coming out of this.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
What has the customer response to the announcement been like?
So far, we have presented this concept in the last 3 weeks throughout our world tour, which is called Misys Connect Forums. We have done this in London. Just today, we have in Frankfurt a big event. And wherever we disclose that vision and strategy, customers really like it, because we give them choice, agility, and a kind of state-of-the-art software architecture which can help them to modernize and transform their bank at a lower cost and lower risk. Also, they see a huge benefit of creating new products much faster than in the past, and therefore gain a competitive advantage or deliver a better customer experience. So they really like that vision and strategy. Yet, of course, they want to see how quickly can get on this platform, and what we are trying hard to open the platform mid of next calendar year.
Mm-hmm. Have you gotten any, concerned responses? Do you expect any customers to have risk or compliance issues around moving to a more flexible, open architecture system?
I think the concerns are the similar like when you talk about cloud. It's always data privacy, security, and all the regulations around that. But in the meanwhile, a lot of platform vendors from a cloud infrastructure perspective have proven that cloud is no longer something banks should worry about. A lot of banks are migrating to not a public cloud, but a private cloud infrastructure. So they are shifting CapEx to operating expenses. They want to rent software and infrastructure rather to buy it. And there are vendors out there in the market, for example, like HP Enterprise, who are serving banks for a long time in that model. And they have all they all comply to the right regulations. They offer the highest levels of data security. They can offer things like data that stays in the country. So there has been a lot of things done in the last 10 years to make sure that especially the data security and integrity issues are no longer a big issue. And once that infrastructure issue is solved, I think they are also more receptive to leveraging PaaS functionality.
Mm-hmm. Core banking traditionally hasn't been maybe the sexiest area of finance or fintech, but potentially that changes with a strategic move like this. It seems to suggest that you guys totally get the transformative power of APIs and open development architectures. In your view, I mean, where is core banking service provision likely to go from here?
I think I mentioned it at the beginning. We firmly believe that we are coming to an end of monolithic proprietary software, which will not survive in the long run. We firmly believe that the future of software is componentized software. And let me just emphasize on this, because a lot of competitors are talking about modular software, which is very different from componentized software. Modular software, you can compare it with a car. You buy a car with inside components like the color of the seat or the entertainment system that is in the car. These are modules. But once you want to change one of these modules, once you want to change the seat or you want to change the infotainment system of the car, the only chance is to buy a new car. Componentized means, and an analogy to that is Lego. Lego is the perfect example of a componentized architecture. You have little Lego blocks and you can build new software based on these Lego blocks. All Lego blocks have the same interfaces. And this is exactly what we are building. And based on this componentized software architecture with standardized APIs, you are prepared to run a more modern infrastructure and to put these components into a cloud infrastructure. And the cloud gives you the infinite scale and processing power behind. So the combination of componentized open software with the infinite scale and processing power of the cloud, I think this is the future of software. This is our firm belief.
What are some of the most immediate new functionalities you expect to be developed on top of your platform?
Well, the idea of the store is really have standardized applications. This is not a store for tailor-made solutions. It's in fact, it's the opposite. I think good apps will be reused and bought off the shelf. Bad apps will just fade away and they are not sold or adopted. I think apps that I can think of are apps that create a complete new functionality out of the box. For example, gamification apps for banks, functionalities like micro-lending, crowdfunding, things like that. But it could be also apps which are not really just off the shelf. They at least deliver a certain degree of adoption for the customer, configurable functionality like pricing engines for capital markets, predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, voice or face recognitions for know your customer login mechanism, things like that. So it could be a blend of these things that are on the store.
Mm-hmm. Presumably, a lot of your implementations, especially with larger global banks, are quite extensive. So those customers will no doubt have full access to the App Store. But I guess because this strategic move kind of supports rethinking around banking and financial services business models, do you see scope to? Well, I guess the question is, how can fintechs and other non-bank customers access the App Store? Is it through kind of a 360-degree relationship with Misys, or are there more kind of cost-effective ways for smaller players to leverage this development?
Well, you are absolutely right. We see a lot of non-banks entering the banking market. So a telco of today is more or less the bank of tomorrow. Platform vendors like an Amazon and eBay, even platform vendors like Uber or others will come into play, and they are really interested to integrate banking functionality into their services, into their platform. Now, the question is, do they want to develop own apps? Or do they want to use the power of our platform, our PaaS offering, to buy some of the apps that they can integrate into their offering? I think the second is the case. I can't see that Amazon or eBay or others will ramp up internal development based on our platform, rather looking into the store and taking the best apps and adopting them for their use.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you guys are still defining the pricing for this proposition, but it'll be interesting to see whether smaller players that perhaps don't need a full end-to-end core banking solution will still be given access to the App Store, even by using, say, lesser components of the Misys platform.
The use of the platform is open for everyone. So when you want to develop apps, you don't have to pay anything. Once you have developed the app and you go into commercial use of that app, then the intention is to charge people by consumption. Now, we are in the definition of what consumption really means, because in the banking world, it could be users, it could be really banking transactions, it could be the size of the company using it. There are different mechanisms, and we are in the definition of the right blend. But the platform itself is open for programming to everyone who is going to a certain certification mechanism to apply access for the platform.
Mm-hmm. And will Misys kind of monitor third-party development on an ongoing basis? Will you be offering any sort of kind of quality control?
I think we will perform a similar model also like Apple, which they secure that certain security and data privacy rules are correctly handled. What we can't do is really to go into the functionality of the application, and we can't guarantee for the output of what the app will generate for the client. So it's more that the application doesn't destroy anything else, adheres to the rules and regulation when you are running on a cloud. It's more a quality check rather than a functionality check.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love this concept, and I can obviously see how transformative it is. I also get how certain risk and compliance departments at more, let's call them traditional establishments, may have concerns initially, but I think that everything you're saying about effectively putting the power in the hands of the customer, giving people options around ways to build out their propositions based on tools that not only Misys but a third party ecosystem creates is it's hugely transformative.
Absolutely.
Does the platform as a service model create complexities around Misys core system updates?
No, not at all, because as I said at the beginning, we have invested massive amount of time to componentize all of our software. So even some of our core banking systems are more and more componentized, so we take more functionality out of the legacy systems and put that into these Lego blocks. So when we upgrade the platform, we might change some of these Lego blocks. We are not changing the core infrastructure anymore. And more of the functionality that was in the former legacy core system is now migrating into the components. So at a certain moment, we don't know the time yet, probably the only thing that is left from the core is the general ledger, and maybe that even is replaced then through a blockchain technology. So we want, when we go forward, really just to exchange the little module, the little components inside the platform, not the core functionality in the background. So it will be very easy, and it's a natural evolving of our technology and our strategy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll wrap this up because I know we're on limited time. But one final question for you: what sort of company would you see as being the ideal user for this new open platform?
The great thing is there is no ideal company. It's for individual developers, it's for little fintechs, it's for larger banks who wants to get rid of their massive amount of developers and want to really have a more cost-effective way on innovating. It's for system integrators who see new business models in the app economy. It's for the whole consulting area because that model will change the economics around financial services software in a big way. So it's a whole ecosystem, and I said even other platform vendors could be interested. So it's not one ideal user. Every user might have a different view and a different benefit from our platform.
Well, look, again, I absolutely love what you guys are doing. What's the best way for people to connect with you, find out more about Misys and the platform as a service strategy?
So I think the best way to connect with us is our website, Misys.com. We have a nice Twitter, MysysFS. And of course, I'm always open to receive emails. We are interested how our message is perceived in the market. We are interested in getting in touch with innovative banks, with fintechs, with system integrators. So I'm more than happy if people also approach me directly or through our public relations person.
Great. So just to confirm, that's MISYS, Misys. Martin, thank you very much for joining us today. It's really been an interesting conversation.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you, Will.
Continuing with the theme of APIs and open back-end architecture, I'm happy to be joined by Myles Stephenson of Modular. Myles is an experienced payments executive and entrepreneur and is currently the chief executive of Modular, a flexible payments platform seeking to deliver better ways for businesses to move money. From 2012 to 2015, Myles was managing director of WEX Europe, the European arm of US-based WEX, a New York Stock Exchange-listed provider of virtual payment solutions. From 2008 to 2012, Myles founded and ran Corporate Pay, a provider of commercial prepaid solutions, which was acquired by WEX in 2012. At Modular, Myles is building an API business payments platform that simplifies complex payment flows, delivering efficiency and business growth. Myles, welcome to Rebank. I've provided a quick overview of your background and current work with Modular. Tell us a bit more about Modular and what it does.
Yes, certainly. So at Modular, we have an API payments platform, and we're enabling our clients to basically simplify what we see as complex payment flows and allowing them to build the business process that they really want to build rather than ones that they're perhaps forced to build with current systems. And what we're enabling them to do is deliver efficiencies, lower costs, and better controls.
Your fundamental premise seems to be that banking doesn't work for businesses currently as well as it should. What are the biggest shortcomings with the current model?
Yes, but I'd probably frame it in a slightly different way, in that we think that the changes that are happening in the market more broadly, whether it's the drive to digital, multi-channel convergence, marketplaces, regulation, platforms, etc., there's a huge amount of change happening in the way people do business, and that is therefore driving new demands, new stresses on the way people need to consume payment services. And we feel that really conflicts with the way the existing systems and the legacy systems have been built, and a fresh approach is needed. So rather than broken, we just think it's the pace of change, the acceleration is really driving the need and appetite for a different way of doing things.
So tell us kind of in practical terms the way Modular works. I mean, what do you guys do and how do customers use your platform?
Yeah, sure. So in practical terms, we built a platform. It's a technology platform. We're leading with APIs because we believe that is the future, and we want to deliver that now and not wait for some of the regulatory change that is coming, which is fascinating, but we want to be in the here and now. So it's technology platform, API access, other accesses as well. Such as a user interface and file-based integration if people want to, combined with the regulated services to operate payment accounts and payment services. So we are authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority as an electronic money institution, which allows us to hold client money and process payments in the same way that a bank can, and we provide those services wrapped together to enable people to, as just described, integrate and process payments in the way that they want to.
Who are your target customers? I mean, what's kind of the ideal Modular customer?
So yeah, in theory, anyone that processes payments, but clearly that's very broad and difficult to sort of break down. So to try and sort of break it down into something more tangible, we are focused on people or businesses that have a decent flow of payments. Where we believe we can add most value is where there's a flow, a degree of complexity, a reconciliation need, a control need around client monies, for example, or customer monies, where there's a need for speed, or where there's a need to integrate flexibly. And then to take it down another layer, we are then taking the platform to market by sector and segment to really focus hard on the particular value we can bring to a segment and the particular needs they have in their business processes or automation or efficiency needs. So I guess to throw out a few examples to try and bring it into some more reality for people. An example would be an SME financing platform that we work with. We enable them to create payment accounts real time for their customers and manage those accounts through the API and through the web interface, so that they can collect monies into those accounts, split fees and commissions out, and then pay on the funds to the clients and also out to themselves as well. So creating that ecosystem of flexibility that they need. Another example might be a ticket booking system or broader software platforms where, again, they want to integrate payments deeply into their process so they can collect payments, reconcile them, split out their commission, and then pay on the payments to their providers or their suppliers of the actual product. And that's just a subset or some examples, and that's how we see the business growing, by going deeper into these specific sectors and then growing the number of sectors that we serve and operate in.
So it sounds like a plug-and-play kind of front-end model from a business customer standpoint, and it presumably takes them through the payments journey kind of up to the actual integration with payments platforms, i.e. you're not actually doing the transfer from one bank to another or across country lines, or are you?
So we are actually processing the payment. So if you think about, you might have customers paying in. So we're providing in UK terminology a sort code with an account number, so that you can collect your payments, your receipts, get your customers to pay in. Or if you're collecting via other methods like a credit card through an acquirer, you can have those receipts paid into the account, so you can then manage them within our account. And then we enable the payment out through faster payments, backs, etc. So we're sat right at the heart of the actual payment processing. And as we grow, we will enable broader payment types and international transfers as well.
So it sounds like you guys are live already and doing work for customers. How many customers do you have at the moment?
Yeah, so it's been really a sort of whirlwind start in that we went live in June. And
after a short build time, right? I mean, this is
absolutely.
So 6 months concept to delivery, right?
So we started putting together the team late last year, and we're a bunch of people that have worked together before and previously built payment systems and payment platforms. So I think we had the value and benefit of, if you like, a team that knew each other and had executed well on delivering payment platforms. And we started in January, so with a blank sheet of paper, no tech, nothing. And from January to June, built a platform that is operational and issuing payments accounts and collecting payments and processing payments. So I'm very proud of the team and what they've delivered in that sense. It's fantastic. We now have contracts with about 25 organisations, and we're onboarding about 3 to 5 per week. So we're starting to scale and grow quite significantly and have visibility of our run rate into next year, probably around 2 million transactions on an annual basis, and then scaling as we add more customers. So we're quite excited about the growth and the scale that we're getting to.
You guys are UK based. Is that kind of the sole geography that you currently cover, or do you, and I suppose second question, do you intend to expand the geographic scope over time?
So yes and yes. We are UK based. We're UK focused. Today we wanted to get the business up and running and focus hard on making sure we could deliver success in the UK, and that's the path we're on at the moment. Our license is with the FCA in the UK. We have passported to the other member states in the EU and do want to be able to follow that, Brexit allowing, of course. And that will become part of our medium long-term strategy. The first stages will be to expand out the different payment types and currencies from an international perspective. So we're on a path to expand what we've done with GBP accounts into euro, and have started that integration process, so we'll be able to issue euro accounts and integrate into the SEPA systems, which initially will be to UK customers, and then we'll use that platform to look at how we might expand and actually sell and distribute in other countries as well. But stepping from the UK into Europe would be our preferred strategy.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you've kind of outlined the medium-term vision of Modular, i.e., expand into kind of some of the prevailing GBP, Euro, and potential US dollars in terms of payment processing. Longer term, is it a question of kind of expanding scope across geographies or building deeper functionalities into the platform? What's the longer term plan?
Yeah, I'd split it into two key areas. One is the development of our platform, if you like, from an infrastructure and capability perspective in relation to payments. And that looks like expanding the number of payment types that we operate, both UK domestic and international, so that we can provide more of a one-stop shop for our customers in terms of a range of services and payment types that we offer. And then as part of that, getting deeper into the payment systems themselves. And what we're really excited about are the new access models that the PSR and the Bank of England are working on, and the fact that a non-bank FI, such as an e-money institution like us, will be able to get deeper access into the payment schemes, and eventually, when the systems open up, we'll be able to settle directly into the Bank of England, and that is really exciting for us. So that getting deeper into the system, so we can get better data access, faster services, really access all of the new systems that are coming online. That's what we want to do. The second area is then the sector focus, so expanding out the number of sectors that we work on, so that we can really add lots of value and deep functionality for platforms and businesses in particular sectors, so that we can really enable them to generate those efficiencies, the control and the value added functionality in those sectors.
So one of the themes that I'm particularly interested in is that of kind of API-based architectures, and clearly something you guys have leveraged to put your product together. Tell us how APIs feature in your platform, and a bit about effectively the power of that architecture versus something that that 10 years ago one might have been able to build.
So you're right, our focus has been on API and enabling that to be very simple for our customers to get access to the system, and we believe that's a real key benefit, in that we make it very easy for people to get access to our developer center, our sandbox, to be able to test and build, and with one P2P lending platform, being able to put together a proof of concept within a couple of days. And so it's been fantastic to see people using it and really build the flexibility that they need. So the API is key to that flexibility and access. We think it's just the starting point, and believe there will be lots more opportunities that come along. We're big believers, as I'm sure you'd imagine, of PSD2 and some of the new access models that we created there, and we believe that in starting early, that will open up a number of opportunities and avenues as we are able to then establish the API-led platform into these new areas. The other dimension is then, as we build out the services, there will be a number of the payment type services that we want to operate deeply and directly. There'll be a number that we don't want to, and therefore being able to consume APIs on the platform is important for us as well, and being able to integrate additional services that we don't want to do directly ourselves. We see ourselves very much focusing on payments and not offering a broader banking service. We believe the route to that will be driven by our partners, our clients, and integrating those additional services from other providers, rather than trying to expand out beyond payments.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that leads me into my next question, which was in part around kind of the way that your customers use the modular platform versus their traditional banking relationships. It doesn't sound at the moment like there's a direct interface, so it sounds like via API connections later on there likely will be. But does the modular platform and the customer's banking relationship kind of run in parallel, And does that create any complications for your users?
So what we're not trying to do is replace existing banking relationships. We very much see ourselves sitting alongside existing banking relationships so that people can use our additional functionality, fund our accounts, use our accounts to collect monies and pay out, but retain their core banking relationships for the other services that they need, and even for moving money back from Modular to their core banking service provider and accounts. And as integrations open up, and particularly around PSD2, then the opportunities to make that a lot smoother will come about in terms of payments initiation and also account information services, to be able to move money and information more freely and easily between the two. Mm-hmm. But we see it very much as working with rather than trying to replace. Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you've gained great traction in the UK with a couple specific customer segments. In terms of kind of the next steps in terms of market traction here, what are the next handful of segments that you guys are targeting, and indeed what sorts of companies listening should consider getting in touch with Modular?
So we're constantly looking at new segments, and there are new ideas popping up all the time, and people reaching out to us with suggestions and opportunities. To give some examples of sectors that we're very interested in, property is a good example where there's a lot of payment flow, a lot of complexity of different participants, control requirements around deposits and client money, all of which needs reconciling and controlling, and the flows are very strong. Another one would be travel, a complex ecosystem of payments moving between intermediaries and suppliers, and the need to be able to, again, control and reconcile and do that in a very time-efficient manner. So there's two examples there. We're constantly seeing more and more examples as we grow and scale the business.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like Modular at the moment processes most of its payments via traditional payment schemes. So in the UK, faster payments, BACS, CHAPS. Do you intend to continue to rely on those schemes exclusively over time, or is there any thought about incorporating alternative payment rails? I don't know, Ripple or Earthport or other payment schemes.
I think they're all very interesting, and our approach would be to grow the number of payment schemes, traditional and non-traditional, in the future. We would want to be, I think, more clear on some of the challenges, both regulatory and also adoption of those before we perhaps jumped in. But we certainly see one opportunity is to integrate those different types of providers to enable us to provide greater level of service, but would see those really being driven perhaps on a demand basis rather than proactively integrating them now. We also see a great opportunity to create, if you like, ecosystems within our own platform, where we can create as an example, a set of collection accounts for participants in an industry, collection of payout accounts, and be able to control the movement of money between them. So the payments, in effect, become within the network payments rather than having to go out to external networks, and therefore increasing the speed, the integration, and reducing the cost of those payments as we develop the number of clients that are using our platform and our payments.
Is KYC and AML an issue for you guys? Does the burden for that fall on you or on your customers? Or both, more likely?
So yes and yes. So we obviously have to comply with and do comply with all of the regulatory requirements for KYC and also know your business checks and due diligence checks on the businesses that we're taking on and integrating into the platform. And yes, in some cases it can also be our customers. So where our customers are offering and providing regulated services, then they are responsible for ensuring that their customers have been KYC'd and due diligenced as well.
In terms of ongoing kind of AML and money laundering checks, presumably that's of paramount importance to the agency bank that sponsors you into the payment systems in the UK. I would imagine the burden for part of that falls on you. What's that work like?
So yes, we have to be very clear on how we are managing those checks, both up front when we're verifying a customer to make sure we know who they are, make sure we're checking against all of the sanctions lists, regulatory lists, etc., to make sure we know who we're doing business with and are excluding people that we shouldn't be doing business with. And the ongoing nature of that relationship in terms of transaction monitoring as well. Absolutely critical that we are doing that well and necessary for us to be running the business properly, and something that we absolutely want to be doing.
I'll leave the final word to you. In your view, what's the most transformative thing about Modular?
So we believe at the moment that we're a payments API platform that's available now. It's live, it's available, we can issue live real-time payment accounts and allow you to collect payments, receive notifications and execute payments through that API.
Myles, thank you very much for joining us today. Where can people find out more about Modular and connect with you?
Our website's the best place, modularfinance.com, and
MODULR finance.com.
Absolutely. And you can find me personally on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Rebank. If you like today's show, reach out. Follow us on Twitter at Rebank Podcast and join the conversation. For more on banking, fintech, and the future, check out our regular content at www.bankingthefuture.com.